This episode of Gamerheads is brought to you by Magic Mind, the healthy energy drink that will help you take your creativity to a new level.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Mega Cat Studios.
Hey, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite, Screen Snark, and the Fun and Games podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bonte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations, this is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi everyone, Jill Grote here from the Indie Informer.
Hey, this is Brimstone, and you're listening to Roger Reichart on the Gamerheads Podcast.
And welcome to another episode of the Gamerheads Podcast. My name is Roger. Tonight I have a very special guest. I have the creator behind the game Super Space Club, Graham Reid. Graham, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yo, what's good? Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. I love this game. And we'll get into it's so good. But before we get into the game, because I have a lot of questions about the game, I want to know more about you. So tell us about yourself. What got you into gaming and what got you into game development?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Graham Reid, as you said. I'm a Jamaican game developer, born and raised. And yeah, I've been, what got me into gaming, I've just been playing games my whole life. Like, from I was, I think, 4, I want to say. My dad got me like a Super Nintendo. I was playing Super Metroid, and then fast forward to now, and it's just been a part of my entire being. Like, I love video games. And then game development. I never actually thought I would get into game development because it just seemed such a foreign thing. Like, you know, you have to be a part of a big company, like part of Xbox, part of Microsoft, part of like Nintendo, part of Sony, part of whoever, right?
Yeah.
And back in the day, that was the truth of it. There was indie development, but it wasn't the same as it is now. Indie development back in the 90s, even the 2000s, was like you're making games on your computer, putting them on floppy disks, and then handing them out to people, you know, or like mailing them to people. And then in the 2000s, it was more like Flash games. Like, I kind of wish I was a part of that whole Flash generation, but I didn't even know I could have been back then, you know?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until like iPhone and Android, and then also during college, one of my friends who was a game development major at the time, he also from Jamaica, he was like, yo, let's do a global game jam, which essentially is you take, how much days? I think it was like 3 days at the time. You take 3 days, come up with a concept based on a theme that they give you, and you make a game. And so it was him, me, and a third Jamaican who was actually in Jamaica back at that time. And yeah, we made a simple game for Android. And it was like, oh, it dawned on us. We can actually make video games now. This is kind of dope. Like, just like that, overnight, just went from, I've never made a game before to, hey, we are now game developers. And it was...
That's crazy.
That was it. From then, I think that my whole... Back in college, I studied motion graphics. So I was my intention was to get into the game industry by doing like game trailers, or, you know, just kind of just motion graphics stuff, or even work at like an IGN doing stuff for them. Actually, I did a lot of that stuff early on. Like, I don't know if you ever listened to Podcast Beyond. I used to do some stuff with them, like back when Greg and Colin were on Beyond.
Really?
Yeah. And then when they left, funny enough, when they left to form Kind of Funny, I did some of their initial motion graphics for them, which was fun.
Really?
Yeah. Small world.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. But then, so at the same time, I was getting into game development. And so I kind of went down that path instead of I'm going to the motion graphics for games or for like the media side of things. Yeah. But I just knew I had to be in games in some way, shape, or form, you know?
Yeah.
And so now I'm here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That's an interesting journey, and like there is a lot that you probably could take from your your graphics background and the motion graphics and apply it to gaming as well. So
for sure, 100%. I think it translates very well.
Yeah, for sure. Can you tell us then about your game here? This is your first like title that you released, right? Super Space Club.
It's my first for PC and console. I've done mobile games before. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's this game about? Can you tell us about the game?
Sure. In a nutshell, the game is called Super Space Club, and it is. I'm trying to think of the best quick pitch to give you. I have so many in my head. It is just like it's dogfighting in space with the most vibesy soundtrack you'll ever hear in a video game. That's what it is.
I love it. And it reminds me of like very arcadey as well.
Yep.
What were some of the inspirations behind the game then? Was arcade one of them?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's so many inspirations. So first of all, because this is my first console and PC game. When I started, it wasn't even console; it was just PC. I wanted to figure out what I could make that was within my scope, because, like I said, motion graphics background. I didn't know how to program. I just kind of taught myself from YouTube. Like, YouTube is the best. Wow. YouTube is the best. Like you can learn anything on YouTube, but and I mean it's not like. If I told you this like 20 years ago, you'd be learning like hard C+ or whatever. Like, no, Unity is not hard to learn. It's hard to ship a game. It's hard to finish something, but it's not hard to just get your feet wet. It's very, very accessible to make a game these days. It's just not easy to actually make money from it. But here we are. But yes, I want to make something small, and so I was thinking, what could I make? Let's make like a space shooter, because I had so many ideas for a mobile version of this game, but then at some points I just pivoted to doing it for Steam because it just felt like the right thing to do. And then I really personally I like arcade type games, love Geometry Wars, love Luftrauser's, or all of Lambert's games really. Housemarque is one of my favorite developers. Like those kind of inspirations, like you said, very arcadey feeling games. And then outside of video games, there's like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse the influence, Guardians of the Galaxy the influence. There's just like so many different things from all over that I pulled into this one little neat package.
It's fun. I mean, it's interesting for me to hear this that you learn from YouTube, because I will say this game, one thing that I've noticed is just how well it plays and just how tight the controls are. Like, it's so good. It's so good. And for somebody, I love arcade games like Asteroids. Like, I grew up on Asteroids, right?
Oh yeah, so obviously another reference, Asteroids. Yeah.
But this plays so good, and thank you. It's so good. It's so, and the graphics and the music is so good. And that's actually the next thing I want to talk about is the music, because the music is so good in this game.
Yes, it really is.
Can you talk about that, incorporating the music into the game? Yeah, it's
so
good.
Fat Bard is a music duo based in Missouri, and they're the ones who are responsible for the music. So that's why I feel no way giving the music high praise, because I didn't do it. So I'm like, yep, everyone needs to listen to the music, the soundtrack, go play the game on repeat. Just the music is so good. Like, I think they did an excellent job, and all the collaborators that we had on did an excellent job too, just giving the vibe. The direction I went was just my direction. Like, I didn't want to, both the visuals and the sound, I didn't want to make your typical space game. I didn't want to have any black and white like Asteroids, which, funny enough, it started like that. But like I said, in Spider-Man, that's one of my influences visually. And so yeah, visually I wanted to stand out. I wanted to look very colorful, very poppy, very in your face, cool looking. And then on the music side, I didn't want to have any techno, didn't want to have any EDM, none of that. Like, you know, when you play like a Geometry Wars or one of those games, it fits for those games, but I just didn't want to have this, like, I don't know how you even describe this, like your energy, your blood pumping as you're listening to this music, you know? I wanted more of like a chill experience, which is that's how the Guardians of the Galaxy thing comes in. Like when you watch that movie and you see all the slow motion scenes and the 70s soundtrack, like complementing all the action that's going on. That's how I wanted the game to feel, to give you that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of told them, yo, I want to make. Funny enough, I had a sound designer before them, this guy named George Hofnagel, and he had his own take on the music. It had more of like a jazz influence, which was also cool. But then he left me to go work at NetherRealm. So
really?
Yeah. So when he told me that, I was like, yeah, I can't even be mad at you. That's amazing. Like, yeah, go work on that stuff. Yes, he's done a bunch of cool stuff in the latest Mortal Kombat. Like, I'm jealous.
Wow.
Yeah. But in fact, but that opened the door because he introduced me to Fat Bard. He's like, oh yeah, I have these really cool friends. You might want to work with them. And now I feel like any opportunity I can work with them again, I'm going to, because they didn't just deliver. They were so invested in the game as if it was their own. I mean, it is. They own the soundtrack. You know, like that's part of their, like, they don't want to make crap. You know, they don't want to put their name on anything that isn't good. And so I'm really thankful that I got to work with them, tell them my vision, and then they saw the vision and took it beyond where I could even imagine it going.
One of the things that I love about the music too is, like, first of all, it just fits with the game. It just complements it so well. But the other thing that I love too, and maybe you can talk about this, like, there's moments like where your ship is starting to like lose energy, and then the music like gets quiet and fades out. Like, can you talk about that? And what was the process around that?
Yeah, so I don't remember exactly how this came about, but all of those little choices were just me wanting to add that kind of polish to the game. Like, I love when games have that kind of those little subtleties, because those things stand out. You know, like, I have a very random memory right now of playing No More Heroes on the Wii.
Yeah.
And like whenever you got a call, you'd only hear the audio in the Wiimote, like exclusively.
Yeah.
And like, they never had to do that. They could have put it on the TV, it'd be fine. But that little touch, to this day, I'm thinking about a Wii game. Like, why, you know? It's because of those small details. And so I really enjoy having things like that. It just makes it more immersive to me. So when you're in the game, when you're in Super Space Club and you have low energy, everything gets muffled, because I want you to feel as if, it's not just a soundtrack. This is what you're hearing in the ship. And then once you have low energy, they're focused, and so you're not really focusing on the music anymore. Both you and the character aren't focusing on the music. You're more just trying to not die, you know? And even with another example would be like, if you use Roscoe, the character who slows down time or speeds up, however you look at it. Everything gets kind of chopped and screwed, because the soundtrack's not going to get, let's say, the same. Why would it, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and it's so interesting, because it's those little things that, like you said, that adds to the game, that just adds so much polish to the game. And it you know, and that was like the first thing I picked up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I love that so much.
Thank you.
One of the other things that when we kind of talked about how it's an arcade aspect, or like arcadey type game, but the other thing that you incorporate into this, and this is one of the things I love about this, is that there's objectives that are built into the game and allow you to level up or move on to the next levels. Can you talk about that approach to that design and development around that, and the progression in that game, and what were some of the challenges you faced when you were developing that?
Of course. So the idea of having these objectives came directly from, like I said, it was initially I found a notebook the other day, and I've had ideas for this game from like 2014. But back then, like I said, back then it was a mobile game. So have you ever played Ridiculous Fishing?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you need to. It's on Apple Arcade, and if you have an iPhone, you should 100% play it. It's one of my favorite mobile games of all time. It's really good. But so to cut a long story short, I wanted to borrow those mechanics. The game used tilt, and so I wanted to make a tilt game, but it was in space, and so you're tilting to kind of control the ship. That was my grand idea. And then another one of my favorite mobile games was Jetpack Joyride. And in Jetpack Joyride, you have the whole three mission structure, three objective structure. So you have a mission like mission 1, and it's like collect how much of a coin, do this, do that, whatever. And so you're playing the game, you're trying to do the endless run, get as far as you can get. But then also you have these side objectives for you to kind of focus on, or not if you don't feel like doing them that day or that run. And I've always liked when games have that kind of thing, you know. Like it elevates the arcadiness. It's not just, hey, let's get the high score, but it's also here are things to do while you're getting the high score, which I think is just elevates it, like I said.
Yeah.
And somehow that's come all the way through to the end of the game. That's one of the things that stuck.
That's awesome. And I love that because it allows for, like, you there's certainly high scores, right? You can get the high scores in the levels, but it allows for that progression to happen as well.
Exactly.
I absolutely love that.
Right. And also I think, so one of the reasons outside of just it being something cool is I wanted it to be a bigger game. Not big like a massive narrative or anything, but I didn't just want it to be just this one mode. Like when I first started it was just one ship. Actually it never had any characters or abilities. It was just the one ship and you're flying around. And people loved it. People were like, yo, is this out already? Where can I buy it? And I was like, no, there's so much I want to add to it. Like it could have come out a completely different game in 2019. Just I mean, the core gameplay was there, but there wasn't all of the polish, all of the characters, the weapons, all that stuff wasn't there. And so, I just wanted to add in all that stuff to make it feel more substantial, you know?
Yeah, that's the other thing I love about this game too is the amount of different playable characters and ships that you can pick from. Talk about that design process and implementing the different options and how they impact the gameplay.
Of course. So I'll start with how they impact the gameplay. I feel like because all of the so for those of you who haven't played it, there are 5 different things of each category. So 5 characters, 5 weapons, 5 ships, currently at least. And you can make any combination of them. So that gives you like over 100 different combinations. And it's just a matter of player preference. Like some people will say, oh, I hate this character because their ability doesn't mesh with how I want to play the game, or this ship might be too slow. And then I hear the complete opposite. Like someone loves that exact build, you know? It's like playing like any kind of multiplayer, like an Overwatch or a League of Legends or one of those things. Everyone has their preference, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to kind of put that into the game. But at the same time not make anything feel like, oh, this is the must play build. This is like the one that's OP. This is like the meta for the game. I think somehow I've managed to balance it so there isn't really a meta. I think everything is a viable play style. And then in terms of how I came about with the things, for the characters, me and my friend who I got to do the initial concept art for the characters themselves, we just kind of sat and brainstormed. And I wrote down a long list of just animals. Because another inspiration was Star Fox, like obviously.
Yeah, I was gonna say
obviously,
it feels. I was gonna say it feels that way.
Yeah. I love Star Fox. But so I wrote down a bunch of animals. I avoided any Star Fox characters just because I didn't want to have that direct comparison. And also, you know, what up Nintendo, if you want to lend me one of your characters, I'll happily make a Switch version, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so it's like so you have a pangolin, you have a hippo, you have an antelope, and I just thought, what would be cool abilities for that makes sense for these characters? So like hippos are actually very aggressive, and so the hippo does a charge, or like the pangolins have very scaly, hard skin, and so that's the one that has a shield, like that kind of stuff. So they're directly related to the animals. I have a long list. Like there's so many characters I could have come up with, but just, you know, time. Games are hard. They're hard to make.
Yeah.
Or hard to like, because I have to finish.
Yeah.
And then the weapons I feel like are pretty more or less standard. Like you have like a single shot, a double shot, a homing missile. There's one that's cool that I feel like you don't see often. Is I call it the firework. It's like you shoot out a bullet and then explodes into other bullets. Which I mean,
oh cool.
Now with games like Vampire Survivors and those kind of games, which somehow this gets compared to a lot. I feel like you see more things like that, but when I first designed it, some of these things felt a little more unique.
Because I love the different abilities, and I love the slowdown, or like you said, speed up, depending on how you see it,
how
right?
you view it. Yeah.
Yeah. What was like the most difficult one to incorporate?
That one. The time one. Yeah. That one gave me problems because like all the other ones are self-contained. So like the shield, you put on a shield, the blink or the charge, you're just dashing forward or just literally just changing the position of the character. There's a character who drops mines, and so you're just sending out mines. But then the time one, you're changing the time of the entire game, including all the projectiles, all the pickups, everything except you. So it's like if it was just changing the time of everything, then that's easy. Slow down the game, and like that's literally one line of code. It's just set the time to half or whatever, and that's it. But to make it so that you are moving in slow motion, but then, or you're moving regular speed, but then your bullets aren't. But then your turning is it was a lot of gymnastics, just trying to figure out how to make it all work and feel right, because I wanted to make sure it actually felt useful.
Yeah, I will say that's my favorite power up, and it is so good. You did such a great job with it. Yeah, it plays so well, and like we said that before, but the music and everything just fits so well together, and it just feels so good. I kind of feel like a badass when I actually trigger that.
He's also the coolest character, I think. So like, he's the coolest looking character. He has like a bomber jacket. Like he's chill.
Yeah. The other thing that I love in the game is the art, and I can see the inspiration from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Can you talk about the art direction and what we talked about the Spider-Man, but what's some of the other inspiration around the art?
I mean, honestly, it's just a mix of the colors are all just inspired from the Spider-Man having this very colorful, just color burst visual aesthetic. But then I think me just personally, I've always kind of leaned towards more of a minimal aesthetic, but then pushing the minimal as far as I can push it, And I think that's really it. There's just those two things came together. And here we are. And also, again, like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I wanted to stick to something simple. So that's why the ships are just full-on geometric, like spheres, triangles, or pyramids rather, and just stuff like that, as opposed to me making actual fully 3D rendered ships. I mean, they're all 3D, but you know what I mean. It's not. It doesn't look like a ship. It's like it's kind of abstract.
Yeah. But it fits so good. And the other thing I love too is like you'll be playing a level and just the colors change and it just looks so vibrant and so beautiful. And it reminds me of like what my memory of what an arcade, right? When I walk into arcade, you see the bright lights and the neon colors, and it just plays really well into the aesthetic.
Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it. It's so funny to look at it now because like, when it came out on Steam last year, of course, that first month was like bug fixes and, sending out patches and whatever. But then after that, I could sit back and then I could sit back and look at it. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of proud of this. But there is so much that I wanted to do, so much that I didn't actually get to do from an art direction perspective. I mean, overall, because no game is ever just fully finished. But just from art direction, because that's what I have the most control of, I would say. There's so much that I left that I couldn't get to just because I wanted the game to come out. But yeah, I think looking at it now, I think it holds up. I think I did a decent job with it.
Yeah, if
I make a sequel, gorgeous. It's going to be crazy.
Well, I guess that's my next question for you, and it's not one of the questions I had on here, but like, do you have plans for either DLC for this or a sequel?
No concrete plans, and that's more so because everyone who has played it really, it's not like you, like people who love arcade games, they're like, oh, this is dope, this hype. This is a really fun game, giving it all its high praise. But then I think it hasn't really found the entire audience, hasn't found everyone like you. And so it's hard for me to justify continuing to work on it outside of, like any kind of balancing or bug fix or whatever. It's hard for me to make deal, because any DLC I would make for this, I wouldn't make it paid DLC, right? It would just be if I did characters or weapons or ships or whatever, I don't think that those are substantial enough for me to make them paid. But yes, it's hard for me to justify continuing to work on this as opposed to going to make something new and like continuing to satisfy you and whoever else wants to play my games, as opposed to, oh yeah, I might give you some more characters and you play it for like an hour and then you're good.
Yeah. Well, but it must be, I mean, this is like your first, console baby, right?
Yeah.
Your first PC baby. Like there must be something around that too. And the fact that I also, now that you're just on Xbox, it just came to Xbox.
Yeah.
Like what was that like? And I know I saw that you share one of your tweets saying how exciting that was to see your game on the front page.
Exciting,
like what was that like? Yeah.
It's a lot of emotions because porting is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Like I'll give you like an example. So I was initially worried about doing achievements, not because like I personally love achievements. I'm a big, or at least I was before building a PC. I was like a big PlayStation person, and so love achievements, right? Love trophies.
Yeah.
And so I've always thought all my games just have to have achievements, have to have any kind of trophies, something like that, right? But then I was like, how am I going to do this? Because Steam, of course, also has that. And then when I finally decided, all right, I want to put it in the game, it literally, like kidding not, it took me 3.5 minutes to put it in, test it, and then I got a ping. I'm like, oh, it worked. that was it. Steam is ridiculously easy to actually, and it's not because I'm smart. It's just everything is already exists. Everything already is. You can just Google how to put in achievements on a Steam game and in Unity, and then boom, you have the code. You copy paste it, and you're good. But then with Xbox is, or nothing but Xbox, with consoles, they're all closed platforms. So you can't just Google anything. You have to ask people who you know, or you have to go to forums, which you can only access if you're a developer. If you're like an approved Xbox, approved Switch, approved whoever developer. And then ask questions, like email people. And mind you, I eventually I got where I need to get. Like people are generally really helpful. But yeah, it's just a lot harder. And then the code isn't straightforward. At least not to me, because again, I'm not a programmer by trade. I'm just teaching myself. And if I can't teach myself on YouTube, then I'm just like, well, if I copy and paste and it doesn't work, then I'm screwed.
See, again, it amazes me because again, this game feels so polished. You did such a great job with this game.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, what message or experience do you hope players take away from playing Super Space Club, and what do you want them to remember most about the game?
What message do I want players to take away? Life is hard, and life can get really hectic, but you can still just tackle it head on. Just put on some chill music and keep you cool, and you get through it. That's really the message of Super Space Club. Like, because the game isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. It's hard, right? It's especially those later levels. It gets really challenging when you have like three. You're the biggest shooting lasers at you. Like, it gets hard, but you don't need to get all panicky and frantic and whatever. Like, you can still kind of just be chill about it, and just kind of be calm and collected, and just deal with it. And what do I want people to take away, like, just from playing it? Like, just what do I want people to remember? I mean, I have to say the soundtrack. Like, I don't think I've ever heard this kind of music paired with hip hop reggae vocals before, paired with like a Japanese sing or rapo before, like not Japanese, a French like musician before, and it's like, yeah, I've never heard of that. One of my friends, he's on the track. He's a Jamaican reggae artist. I've never heard that before. Outside of like hearing a licensed song in Grand Theft Auto, never. And so I really want people to just remember the music forever.
Yeah.
I also feel like I've set the bar high now, and all my games have to have good music, which is unfortunate because I'm not in control of music. I have to just work with Fat Bard forever or find good collaborators, which is tricky.
Yeah. I mean, you did set the bar very high with this game.
Yeah. It's not even my bar. That's a problem.
Graham, how can people follow you on social media, and where can they play the game? I know Xbox and Steam, right, are the two places that they can play the game right now.
Currently Xbox and Steam. I don't have any plans for anything else, but I'm not also not opposed to them. Like, it's just people think you can just when's it coming to Switch? Like, listen, if I had a Switch dev kit, I just put it on Switch, just quote unquote, but I don't. So I can't just put it,
Yeah.
But otherwise, the game is on Steam and Xbox. You can go to superspaceclub.com, you can go to grahamlegend.com, and if you go on most major social sites, Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, Threads, Instagram, wherever, I'm just at Graham of Legend.
Nice. Graham, it was a real pleasure having you on the show. Thank you
It's a pleasure
so much
being here. I'm really happy.
Yeah.
Happy you invited me.
Yeah, I'm so glad we connected, and I would love to have you back on the show, whatever your next project is. So you're always welcome to come on the show and talk about it.
I'm already looking forward to it.
Nice. Listeners, I'm going to put the links in our show notes where you can get the game, and also follow Graham on social media and check out the website as well. Check out this game. It's on Xbox. It's on Steam. Play it. It is so good. And the music is fantastic. The gameplay is fantastic. Everything is so good in this game. So go check this game out. Everybody, until next week, everybody, stay safe and game on. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.